Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare dream. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
Fantasy Sports puts you in control of your own team. The Nick Bonsanto Show is proud to present the Star Fantasy League Show. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, co-hosted by SFL CEO Zach Stanley and SFL COO Seth Young. The Star Fantasy League Show, on the air.
Make this game your finest hour.
Now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined by CEO of StarFantasyLeagues.com, Mr. Zach Stanley. What up, Zach?
It's great to be here in lovely Rochester. Sub-zero temperatures, back from Vegas.
How can you say great to be back in sub-zero temperature? I know somebody that's not very happy to be here right now is SFL COO, Mr. Seth Young.
That's only because I have half a voice, and I'm, it is good. I have to say, it's good to be back from Las Vegas. It's, a week in Las Vegas is too much when you get a little bit older.
Yeah, we took the SFL train on the road. We had a nice conference over in Vegas, and now that we're back into the swing of things, it's time to talk about fantasy sports. We just had a very, very big day to do with fantasy football yesterday. You know what that means? It's the last fantasy football day of the year, guys. What are we going to do?
Life fails to hold meaning on Sundays after the Super Bowl. Forget the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl.
I was going to say, are we even talking about that? Let's pick teams. Oh, wait, no, we're done.
Now I have to come up with a new Sunday agenda.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
I know.
I have to spend time with my wife.
Ooh,
sounds terrible.
I'm so sorry.
I hope she's not listening because that sounds terrible.
Oh no, it's okay. We know he's joking, sort of, maybe.
I love you, honey.
Let's hope she's not listening because you are definitely sleeping in the office.
Oh, come on! I was clearly kidding.
Well, the good thing is we will talk about football. We're going to break down the two games from yesterday. We are going to have a quick fantasy preview. I know there are no games, but we're going to do a fantasy preview of the Super Bowl. But the coolest thing we're doing today is we are recapping. We're calling it the accountability session, where we go back to our picks before the season for the 4 teams that were just played, and we see how we stacked up. But in the first segment coming back from break, we're going to talk about Fantasy NBA for tomorrow. You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on the Sports Byline USA Network.
Nick Bonsanto is proud to present the Star Fantasy League Show. Feel free to tweet the show at SFL Show.
We are back on the Star Fantasy League Show talking about Fantasy NBA and, more importantly, daily Fantasy NBA on StarFantasyLeagues.com. Coming up tomorrow, we have a 5-game set, Zach. I know you're pretty excited.
NBA gets me giddy.
Oh, it gets you giddy.
I love NBA. I love watching it, and I love playing daily fantasy basketball. I've got some great picks for tomorrow and a big Blazers Thunder game that I am excited about.
I was going to say, let's go down game by game and break this down, because usually, you know what, let's talk about this before we actually get into any games. What is your thought process going into daily fantasy basketball? I mean, a lot of people do different things. A lot of people go with the biggest guys. They try to pick one of them and then fill in the lower. What is your general approach just before even looking at a schedule? How do you get into this?
Well, you always want to create a balanced lineup, and the best way for me to make a balanced lineup is to find my value players early on. When I see the value guys, look at the guys that are usually on the bench, maybe a spot start for that night, and put them in the lineup, because that's where you can really get the value out of it and plug in some of the bigger boys.
Well, how much, here's my question. Before you go into it, do you have to pay attention to every little beat? Like, are you one of those guys that's waiting until right before games close to see exactly who's out, who's starting, who might be hot that night, all that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. You can win your league in the remaining minutes of right before the first game tips off. You get a late announcement, and you always want to keep track of this stuff, because if you miss it, and this happens, 10 minutes before the game, you see somebody's a surprise start, somebody's a surprise sit, you miss out on it, ruins your whole night.
Well, that's actually a thing that just happened today. If you guys had Dwayne Wade in your lineups, he is Mr. GTD, which is game time decision. He loves to wait until the last possible second. He goes through warm-ups and either plays or he doesn't play. So
I avoid those guys like the plague. I never touch them.
That's one of the things I wanted to talk about with you is if you see that a player is going to be a game time decision, does that basically mean they're out for you?
Well, especially if it's a 10 o'clock game, there's almost no chance that you're going to see some sort of information before the game or before 7 o'clock. Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
That actually brings up a great point. StarFantasyLeagues.com, we just added late swaps. So actually, if you see that somebody's out at 9:58 and the game starts at 10, guess what? You can go in there and you could swap him out for a guy that's healthy or the guy that's replacing him, basically.
Yeah, that's a great new feature at Star Fantasy League.
Speaking of setting your lineups and your mindset going into some daily fantasy basketball, I believe, Mr. Zach Stanley, you're almost finished with a book about this.
I have been writing a book about this.
Oh, geez. We're going to have to...
I've got everything in
this?
there. It's not as humorous as I usually am. I got right down to the nitty-gritty details. And, it's going to be great
Yeah, that stuff is important, I think. I mean, I
can't make fun of Seth in the book.
I'll say, wait, are you...
So that's the problem.
You're humorous on a normal basis?
I am a very funny guy.
It's a really... I got to read a little bit of it, and it's really interesting because, you really learn how to, as a beginner, enter a salary cap game for something like basketball when you're playing daily fantasy sports, especially on StarFantasyLeagues.com. And what you were talking about when you look at the bench players first, as a rule of thumb, even in football, you're going to build your lineup from the bottom. So you're going to want to look at your value plays and see who you can fit in so you can get your studs in your lineup. This holds true for all sports, really.
Yeah, I mean, I like to give the studs of the night a look early on just to say, this is a guy that I really want to get in. This is a guy I want to target. He's got a great matchup. You're going to need a big player or two every single night that you know is going to produce for you.
So you are going a little bit top heavy and a little bit bottom heavy. So you're not going as balanced as you say.
Well, see, some nights you can't get the kind of balance by getting low guys because there's simply nobody that's out and everybody has gone up to a certain value. And so I look for the guys for value on the nights where it's appropriate, but on nights where it's middle ground, you gotta pick some guys that are, like a Kevin Martin, somebody that's in between a starter like that.
And what's really interesting about it as well is that you can build different lineups based on the contest that you're entering. So if you have, say, a 5-game slate, you have a bit more of a choice than usual, say, for a 2 or 3-game slate, obviously. So you can actually, say you're playing a head-to-head contest against just one other person, you may want to build a more balanced lineup that will get you points and you only beat one person. But if you're playing against hundreds or even thousands of people, you may want to go for that boom or bust type of lineup where you get the low value but high upside guys. They may get you nothing, but they might get you 50.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of people picking different lineups in GPPs than the ones they pick in double-ups, because in double-ups, you want to make sure you get production at every position, but in the GPPs, you got to get a little bit more risky.
And by GPPs, if you don't know what that is, that means a guaranteed prize pool tournament. And a double-up is when half of the people that enter will win a prize. A guaranteed prize pool tournament is you put up a set amount. There's a fixed amount of money in the prize pool, and you can, no matter how many people enter, you will win a share of that amount if you place.
I enjoy that Seth said a double up. You enter and you get some money back. It's actually double. That's why it's called a double up, Seth.
As the name would suggest.
Yeah. I love that you said that. You're like, it's just some kind of money. No, it's actually double the money you put in. But good effort. You did good on basketball. All right, let's actually break down this slate now that we've given our listeners a little bit of a background on how Zach and Seth, since you're a layman at this, you self-admitted, right? You're a layman at fantasy basketball currently, right?
Yeah, I'm a fair weather basketball fan. I don't think that's
fine, but still, you know the tenets of fantasy, which means that you can still analyze data and figure out a way to put in players more than the normal person who has no clue.
Yeah, actually, we were just out at a conference in Las Vegas talking about this, and some people that aren't even sports fans. The really interesting part about it, obviously, if you're listening to the show, you're probably a sports fan. But the best part about this kind of fantasy sports is that you don't even need to be a sports fan. You just need to be good at numbers. So if you have good data in front of you, you can put together a really good lineup.
All right, speaking of putting together a good lineup, we're not actually going to make a lineup for tomorrow, but we're going to break down every single game. Like I said, there's only 5 on the slate, so we'll spend about a minute on each of these games. Let's start out the one you seem to be chomping at the bit for, Zach. It's Portland and Oklahoma City.
I can't wait to watch this game. This is the one that I'm going to be waiting up,
Are you
ready
to
see.
Stacking the crap out of this game?
This is a stack game for me, if I can find the right values. Both Lillard and Reggie Jackson have a great matchup tomorrow night.
Because neither of them play defense.
Right. The over-under's 216.5. This is going to be huge. I think on some sites right now, LaMarcus Aldridge is getting really high up there.
Yeah, he was top 8 overall for daily fantasy.
Yeah, if you can find him for a decent price or plug him in and get some lower guys in, I think he's going to kill it tomorrow night. And the reason that I like these types of games is because these are the games in which the big players get up for. These are the games that they get excited for. They know they're 2 of the top teams in the West. They know it's going to be a hard-fought game. They know they might see each other later on down the line in the playoffs. This is where they're going to come out and play really hard, some extra intensity.
So are you stressing to go towards the Kevin Durant, LaMarcus Aldridge combo if you can get it?
If you can get it, I can't see myself creating a lineup where I'm able to get both of those guys.
Yeah, those are basically the
But
guys.
I think having one of those guys in tomorrow is a must.
I would say, would you be closer to like a Lillard Aldridge combo or a Lillard Durant? Because obviously Lillard's not at the 20,000. I believe he's around 17 or 18, so it's a little bit lower.
If I can fit Durant, I'm taking Durant all day. And the reason is if you look at how much his numbers have gone up since Russell Westbrook has gone down, he's literally running point guard. He rebounds as much as he usually does. You know, he's got triple-double potential every night.
All right, now that you've drooled all over this game,
I love Kevin Durant.
Let's give a little bit of love to the other 4 games, because I know you wanted to spend most of the time on that.
And Kevin Durant's outplaying LeBron James right now. I just want to say that.
He had 54 the other night, and he, took him out with the last couple of minutes? He could have easily gotten to 60. It was nuts. All right, how about Utah and Minnesota, 2 teams that have not been playing defense and love to run?
Yeah, this is another game I like for a lot of scoring. I love Alec Burks if Gordon Hayward sits.
Yeah, Gordon Hayward's been a game-time decision for the last 5 games he's sat out, so he can't really be a game-time decision every game.
Yeah, they're really low against the position. Burks loves to shoot. He's been shooting a lot. He's been scoring, providing a big chunk of the scoring for that team since Hayward went down. So if Hayward's out again, I would definitely put in Burks. I also like Corey Brewer. I think he's going to get a lot of steals. They're going to get out and run. I like Pekovic down low as well. Yeah, I mean, there's 3 games that I really want to hit on. The other one is the Pelicans-Kings game.
Okay, talk quickly about that. We got about a minute and a half to go through these last 3 games.
Brian Roberts has great value all over the place.
I'm all over Brian Roberts. He's playing. Drew's out. Tyreek's coming back from his injury. He's getting a lot of minutes.
As long as he keeps getting those minutes, you got to plug him in. His value hasn't gone up a ton. Other guys that you could look at, if you're looking for value, Jason Thompson. I think also Derek Williams. They could both get a decent amount of points with the Pelicans struggling at the power forward position. So many injuries on that team. Anthony Davis has had to play center essentially the whole time right now. Yep. So, yeah, that's what I would look at for that game.
All right, I would stay away from the Boston-Miami game. I know Boston's been all over the place. It's either Humphreys or Sullinger or Green or somebody.
I can't stand the Celtics players for fantasy. They drive me absolutely nuts.
You can't stand. Wow,
no,
that's
Sullinger, Green.
He went for 25 and 20 that night.
I know. And then of course you plug him in the next night, and he gets 10 and 6 or something like that.
That is true.
They're very sporadic. Green's been sporadic all year.
Speaking of, okay, what do you think Rajon Rondo has to do now that he's in there? Are you waiting a little while to look at him?
I would say 3 or 4 more games.
Okay,
because he was out so long.
But at least they're telling you. At least Brad Stevens is coming out and saying, "Oh, he's gonna get exactly 20 minutes," and he has. They've stayed very regimented to what they said beforehand, which I'm perfectly okay with.
And not only does he have to get his legs back, but he also just has to get his live gameplay back. That takes an adjustment time too. It's not just about getting back in basketball shape. It's about getting your skill set back up.
I'll be honest. I really liked him. Really liked Rondo. I am so excited. In the next week or so, we're going to actually get to start talking about Rajon Rondo, probably one of my favorite basketball players from an athletic standpoint of all time. I'm so excited. After the break, we're going to talk championship weekend in the NFL. And you guys are listening to the Star Fantasy League show on the Sports Byline USA Network.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Seth.
We are back, and we are trying something very interesting. Normally, when you talk to these fantasy experts, they make their picks, and you never hear about them again. There's no accountability with these fantasy experts. Sometimes they post their, last year I got this right. You know what? We are going with full accountability on this show. Before the season, we had a podcast. It was called the Daily Fantasy Source Podcast, where we all made picks for each team. We had 3 categories. It was called Can't Miss, Can't Wait to Drop, and No One Saw Him Coming. We did this for every single team in the NFL. We're actually going to go back for Championship Sunday and go through the 4 teams to see exactly how we did and projected these teams before the season. Seth, I want to give you a big shout-out before we do this. You actually picked the Denver Broncos to win the Super Bowl during their segment. So
I know that.
You do know that.
I put down a nice little future
what a
bet
deep
in Las
shot.
Vegas. Come on, it wasn't that tough to predict that the Broncos were going to be the best team in the league this year.
You picked them at 6-1. I mean, Seattle was 7-1. San Francisco was 7-1. I said they would be in the Super Bowl. You guys both laughed at me.
Seattle?
No, I said San Francisco, and you laughed at me.
I really didn't see San Francisco getting this far. I have to be honest, I didn't.
I still think they are the second best team in football. I think that they got robbed, but we are going to talk about that from a fantasy standpoint in the next segment of the show. But now this is the accountability segment. We're going to start off with Seth. Your New England Patriots. You actually weren't here for this segment originally, but I know that you had a can't miss before the season, fantasy-wise. Who was it?
It was definitely Zach Sudfeld. I mean, we were talking about, everybody was talking about it. When we knew Gronk was out and Aaron Hernandez was magically indicted for murder.
Oh wow. Magically.
I just want to say, he couldn't wait. You couldn't wait.
What were you waiting for, the Super Bowl?
I mean, Gronk is hurt. Why do you have to go and kill somebody?
You couldn't wait to start killing people? That's
exactly
what you're saying?
Come
on.
All right, so you were way off. I said Stephen Ridley. I was clearly way off. I was high on him while he was a second-round running back. I thought he was value. Guess what? I was wrong. Zach, who'd you have?
I had Shane Vereen.
You were sort of correct?
And, well, let me tell you, I was absolutely burned and hurt and scarred when he went down because he was killing it against my Bills in that first game, and he looked like he was on pace to have one of the biggest years of any running back in the league. So, yeah, I guess it's an in-between.
It's an in-between. As long as you kept him. Did you keep him till the end of the season?
I did keep him.
Okay,
yes.
That's fine. As long as you didn't drop him like a dumbass.
When it happens that early and there's still so much hope left for the rest of the year.
That is true.
Gotta hang on to him.
All right, can't wait to drop. We were all in agreement. That's really strange because we all said Gronk.
He was going to get hurt at some point.
No, but he kept saying, we don't know when he's coming back. He may be week 1. He may be week 7. It turns out, it was something around there.
I wasn't just concerned about his year and whether he'd be able to come back and produce. I was worried about his career, and I still am.
So am I. I mean, I'm a Patriots fan, and it's really tough. I mean, you look at the guy; he's a little fragile for a big guy.
Speaking of fragile, we'll get to that. Your boy,
how many times has he hurt his arm?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
arm, some weird medical issues.
And then he got the big one this year.
Hurt his party bone.
Yeah, the party bone is alive and well. Don't worry. No one saw him coming. We all went completely different spots. I went comedy. I said Tim Tebow. Do you guys remember that Tim Tebow was actually on this team to start the season?
I do remember that. I was really excited about that.
I said he'd score a few touchdowns as an act of God. Apparently that didn't happen. He got cut.
If anybody knew how to use him, I figure it would be Belichick and the Patriots system because you never know what they're going to do on a week-on-week basis.
You are wrong.
I went with Kenbrell Tompkins. As the no one saw him coming. I thought that he had a really interesting story in the beginning of the year. He really came from humble beginnings and felt lucky to get a roster spot on the Patriots to begin with. He's got a minimum salary, and I thought that he was really going to contribute with Amendola out, Gronk out, and he had his moments.
He was but as a fantasy.
So on his scouting report, it says humble beginnings.
No,
it was.
Hold on, Zach. You said Aaron Dobson. I don't want to hear either of you talking.
He looked like Aaron Dobson at the beginning of the season.
Okay, he's not done yet.
Hold on. I have to mention friend of the show, Matthew Footer, who was on last week or 2 weeks ago. Excuse me. Said Kenbrell Thompson. I heard that. I was like, I don't think that's a player.
Well,
but
to be fair, nobody knew who he was.
That's very true. So none of us got that right. Let's move along to the Denver Broncos. Seth, you did pick him to win the Super Bowl. You also picked the funniest soundbite of the entire show when you picked for your can't miss. You said, and I quote, Matt Prater, and you were correct.
Matt Prater had one of the best seasons for an NFL
I just
kicker.
gave you props. I said you were correct. Can you believe that? You actually said, because Zach
was I making fun of him?
You challenged him. You said, were you going to say it? He says, no, but I really like Matt Prater.
I'm actually a little embarrassed, but I'm not, because I picked up Matt Prater before the end of my drafts. I picked him before I filled some bench spots in my season-long
league. As your second kicker?
As my first
kicker. Okay. I was
in my season-long league.
What's wrong with you?
As soon as I had the chance to get a kicker, I went with Matt Prater.
I wouldn't advise anyone to do that.
Yeah, that's not very smart.
You know what? He was one of the most consistent players I had on my roster.
I'm glad that it worked out for you. That's great, but I don't think that's a good suggestion to make to our public.
Let's. I mean, fair enough. Everyone said Peyton Manning, basically, except for Zach. Zach actually went with Demaryius. It's hard to go wrong. I actually jokingly said before when we started this that you can't go wrong with anyone on their offense, and technically I was right because they have the most high-powered offense of all time.
Says the man who drafted Monty Ball and Ronnie Hillman.
You guys had a fight about this. We're going to get to it. Don't you worry. Seth,
My favorite fight of the year.
Yeah, it was actually one of the better ones. We'll get to that. Can't wait to drop for Seth was the entire Denver backfield. That's wrong.
Well,
You're wrong.
no, Sean Marino, I did come around on him a couple games into the season. Like I said, he was running with a purpose. He looked really good.
Oh, my goodness.
All right.
When did you come around? You didn't come around.
I certainly did come
yeah,
around.
You were
week 16.
you were skeptical for the whole season.
Week 16.
Well,
Give me a break.
My can't wait to drop was Eric Decker. He was the kind of the odd man out. He had a couple really
He was not
big,
the odd man out. He was fine.
He had a couple huge weeks, but surrounded by nothing like
He had,
stellar.
he had a better year than Welker.
yeah, he
Well,
certainly did.
I wasn't high on Welker at all, so don't give me that. I don't want to hear it.
Well, so then there's two players that are odd man out. He had some really, really good games.
I got to admit,
Come on
Zach,
now.
Zach, you were off of Ronnie Hillman as a human being. You were just like so happy to get him out
I
of
was
there.
never a big fan of Ronnie Hillman.
I know,
think
but
it
you
was
were
I.
also high on, as a no one saw him coming, no Sean Moreno, which nobody in the show mentioned.
Hey, you're right.
That's why I'm the man.
See, the whole thing is just to have accountability for people that
No
you can't-
one,
these-
you
yeah.
know Sean.
These experts
coming.
can make incorrect picks. It happens. For example, Seth said that Julius Thomas would not be a productive tight end and that Jacob Tammy would replace him immediately. When
Did
he
I
came
really
back.
say that?
He said those exact words. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I'm not
Oh,
going to lie.
How about that?
It's true. And we are listening to the Star Fantasy League show. You guys can catch us on Twitter at SFL Show. Tweet us if you want to say that Seth made some horrific predictions before
Yeah,
the
I'd
season.
say that's a pretty terrible
Yeah,
prediction
that is.
right there.
Week 1, we had some terrible stuff on StarFantasyLeagues.com. I believe we were all high on, like you said, Zach Sudfeld. Oh, that actually happened. Yeah, it is saying that experts can be wrong. It's possible.
You know, I really like Zach Sudfeld because he left the Jets and went to the Patriots.
and then went back to the Jets.
You know, I just thought that they'd use him like a rub him in their face, kind of like Danny Woodhead.
That's true. All right, let's move along to the Seattle Seahawks. The Super Bowl Seattle Seahawks. That sounds strange, doesn't it? I can't believe that happened.
It's quite the matchup, and it's not too far away from
I
us,
don't
which
wanna-
is not that exciting because
It's cold.
I'm still not going.
Yeah, that's true.
I love this. I love this Super Bowl because it's the best offense on paper versus the best defense.
Yeah,
on paper.
we'll get to that. Don't jump the chart.
I'm
here.
just excited
Don't
to
jump
watch it.
All
for
right,
once.
our can't miss for Seattle was pretty. Everybody was either Wilson or Lynch or both. So I don't think there was much miss here, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the issues with Percy Harvin, you couldn't pick him, and obviously Golden Tate was more of a no one saw him coming type guy. But
The problem is,
maybe you can speak to that.
I would say the problem is I think we agreed way too much on everything here because all of our can't wait to drop was Sidney Rice because I think we knew that there was either an injury coming or just a completely
or that
unproductive
he's
season.
always injured anyways.
Same with Percy Harvin.
Well, no, but he was already
By the
out
way.
before we did the show. He was already out.
Percy
this
Harvin,
season.
I think I paid $5 million for 28 snaps this year.
That's pretty good per snap. That's a pretty good.
Good
stat,
job,
I'd say.
Percy Harvin.
Yeah,
I
really.
bet the Vikings are feeling pretty good about themselves in that respect.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to pat myself on the back here for being the only one to get a no one saw him coming for Seattle. I said Golden Tate. He had a pretty okay season.
He led the Seahawks in receptions.
That's
I
not
think,
that hard.
68.
Name the rest of the
He
receivers.
he had a productive season.
have a
He was,
productive season.
and especially for where you were able to take him in some drafts. I feel like he ended up going up draft charts as the preseason went on. But he still, he had a solid year for where you were drafted.
you guys said Christine Michael. That
I didn't say
no, sorry.
Christine
You guys, as in Footer and Zach, both said that, and I laughed.
You know why?
You didn't say anything.
It's because they saw Christine Michael in a preseason game with Buffalo.
Yeah,
and
it
he looked
went
really good.
nuts. Well,
Listen,
it's Buffalo.
He still looks good. It doesn't mean that he couldn't be a player in this league. Marshawn Lynch just didn't get injured. I said if Marshawn Lynch gets injured, I think this is the guy. That's
Actually,
going
that is exactly
what
you
I said.
That's true. All right, let's go quickly over San Francisco because we seem to agree again on
Colin
this.
Kaepernick.
Everyone said Colin Kaepernick for can't miss, and it turns out he was one of the worst high-end quarterbacks you could have got this season. He came on late, but as I picked him in our league, he did not do well. He didn't have it this year.
You know, I liked him in Nevada.
Yep.
I liked him this season, and it really was kind of an underwhelming season for him.
I picked Big Ben 5 rounds later than him, and I liked Big Ben a lot more than Colin Kaepernick.
Had a great
He had an
season.
incredible. Don't worry. We're going to go over every team as the weeks get on, and we're going to talk about my Ben. Don't worry, we will. We'll get to him. Can't wait to drop. I said Vernon Davis because he was getting picked in fantasy leagues. He was getting picked way too high. He was like the second or third. He was just. I didn't like it. Does anybody else have
Still
anything
had
to
a
say
pretty
for-
good year.
Yeah, I mean, he did. Seth, you said Frank Gore had no youth left in his legs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too high on Frank Gore.
I know. We're going to talk about how much youth he didn't have in his legs after the break when we talk about the championship weekend. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on the Sports Byline USA Network.
The Star Fantasy League show is now part of the Nick Bonsanto Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now.
We are back on the Star Fantasy League show. We just sadly had, I have to be a little somber here, guys. We sadly had our last weekend of fantasy football on starfantasyleagues.com. Are we going to be able to go on, guys?
I don't know what I'm going to do during the week.
Can we just have a moment of silence? It's the radio. I think that'd be a little weird if we had a moment of silence for starfantasyleagues.com fantasy football until next season.
You know, it really is upsetting. I mean, there are a ton of people like us who are, what are you going to do at work now?
Work?
I mean, you don't work. You sit in front of, when football season is around, you sit in front of your computer and you manage all your lineups. I mean, you've got to be sitting there to our audience. I mean, you've got to be sitting there and thinking, well, now, damn, I got to do all this work.
Well, you know what? I actually have an answer for you. Like I said at the top of the show, if you weren't listening, why not? Come on, we have some great nuggets during the show. Fantasy basketball is in full swing daily on starfantasyleagues.com, and fantasy hockey, which we're going to get into later this week with Mr. Zach. You ready to talk some fantasy hockey? Huh?
I don't like seeing football go anywhere. It makes me sad when it ends. But it means another Bills season is just around the corner, and there's reason to be excited.
You know, I get excited. The only reason I get excited for the end of football season is because we can talk about the draft. And I'm really looking forward to
Wait, hold on. The NFL draft or the fantasy draft?
The NFL draft.
Oh, okay. I was like, we're going to be talking about fantasy drafts now. I don't want to talk about that yet.
And we have a fantastic Super Bowl this year. On paper, this is one of the best ones in a long time.
All right, good. Now that you segued into it, that was nice and natural. We got our somber the somber moods out of the room now.
I'm okay.
Oh,
I'm doing fine. I get to watch NBA. You know, playoffs are just coming around the corner. Things are about to get fired up.
All right.
I'll be okay.
Let's keep that fired up attitude, Zach.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yes,
you're going to be
cry.
miserable.
Seth's going to sit in his office and just cry the whole
and
time.
I'll laugh at him.
Yeah, it's true. Let's talk about the first game of yesterday. It was a little boring, I'm not going to lie. Denver-New England was not the high-powered shootout that pretty much everyone expected it to be. It was kind of a dud in the first half.
Even though this was only a 10-point game, Denver dominated.
Oh, they dominated
this entire game, every single quarter. And I was so impressed all around with watching Tom Brady sit on the sidelines with his head in his hands, just looking absolutely miserable. I mean, he looked defeated even when the game wasn't over
I
yet.
felt it in my heart. Every time it panned to Tom Brady on the sideline, I got a little twinge of sadness because I knew that he knew the game was over. When it was 20-3, the game was over.
And you knew it was absolute TV candy for them to keep cutting to him. People were loving that.
The facepalm GIFs that I saw the next day were some of the funniest things ever. What was it with the facepalm?
I saw a really funny Tom Brady photoshopped image where he was, he sat on the bench with his head down. I saw him with his head down, but he was going down a very long water slide.
As much as I like to pick on him, you know he's a really competitive guy. And you could tell that not only did he get beaten, not only did he get knocked out of the playoffs, but you could tell that he got dominated, that he knew he got dominated by Peyton Manning.
Well, here's the question. I mean, it looks like he's the only one that showed up for New England in this game, right? Did anyone else even come close to showing up?
Yeah, the linebacker on defense, Jamie Connolly. Is that his name? I can't even remember his name. Jamie Collins. He was filling in on defense. He absolutely crushed on defense there. But I want to say it's tough. It has to be tough for Tom Brady because what do you have to look forward to when the season's over as Tom Brady?
Are you serious?
You only have a
supermodel
wife,
oh my God,
a modeling career,
oh my God,
and a mansion and just a ton of money. I mean,
a
it
modeling
must be really,
career.
He does actually
really,
have a modeling
really tough.
career. That's true.
Him. I saw Tom Brady. I feel for you, man. I really do.
Yeah, now he can go hang out with his goat.
Oh, the goat. There is a picture floating around.
My favorite picture ever. If you haven't seen this, get on the internet right now. Go to starfantasyleagues.com and then go see Tom Brady with his goat.
Wait, actually, we should post that on starfantasyleague.com as a sorry you missed out Tom Brady. Here's a picture of you and a goat. It happens.
It is tough though. I mean, you got to feel for the guy a little bit. He missed all his high fives during the season. Nobody would high five the guy on the sidelines, and he's bounced out of the playoffs. And Peyton Manning is his nemesis. But I will say as a Patriots fan, if you're going to lose, it's better if you're going to lose to the eventual Super Bowl champions.
Oh,
really?
Is that a prediction right now?
Are you kidding?
He picked him at the beginning. Wait, hold on. This is the ultimate Seth moment. Go ahead and try to make a case for both teams now. Go ahead.
I can make a case for Seattle. I just don't think they can beat Denver. I really
Denver-
do.
Wait, are you saying that you don't think this thing's going to be close?
I don't think it's going to be as close as people think it is. I think it's going to be at least a 10-point game with Denver on top.
Wow. Okay. We're gonna hold you to that.
That's interesting.
In 2 weeks. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a 10-point game. I think it'll be a lot closer than that. I really do.
Well,
I'm very excited. You know, we're going to have a party at the Star Fantasy League's office, and we're gonna get all the TVs out, get all the food out. It's going to be fantastic.
As long as there's
I
food
love
out
Super
there.
Bowl Sunday. The only thing that I don't like is those people. There's the people that talk during the whole game, and then when the commercials come on,
Oh,
they
then they
ask
watch
everybody
them.
to be quiet.
Can we not have those people at the party?
Who's
Yeah,
that?
let's avoid those
Demarius
people.
Tommy?
Okay, everybody be quiet. The commercials are on. Now we can stop talking.
Oh my
Do you
God.
think Demarius Tommy eats Doritos?
Yeah, you know there's going to be a stupid Doritos. They keep advertising these Bud Light commercials that are going to happen. Like, you need a preview for a commercial
whatever is
now?
coming. See, now we're talking about that.
I know, this
and
is
that's
terrible.
exactly what they wanted.
Hold on,
was
this-
for us to get on the air and talk about
what show? Is this the Star Fantasy League show? What show are we talking? We're talking about fantasy, not Star commercial leagues.
I think it would be
I
really
just had
funny.
to complain a little bit.
Don't you
because
think
there's been so many years where I get so irate over listening to these people that come to the Super Bowl.
Aren't you glad there
parties.
aren't the Bills in the Super Bowl? Because you'd have to literally kill somebody to watch
If
the
the
game.
Bills were in the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be at the Star Fantasy League's office. I would be at the game.
I think
true.
it would be great if Wes Welker and Danny Woodhead would be in a commercial for Lucky Charms.
Oh my! Really?
They're both wee little men.
Oh my! Oh, you're going that way with it. That's just not nice. Let's segue to that. Let's talk about how good Denver's offense was, please. Denver was really good in this
They were
game.
good on both sides of the ball.
They just their defense just stepped it up.
They
They
killed
got some
them.
bad injuries at the end of the game, though.
And there was one point near the end of the third quarter where Tom Brady had 123 yards passing and hadn't gotten in the end
Yeah, there
zone.
were. Yeah,
And
that
it's-
Edelman time or like touchdown was kind of in garbage time. So
Yeah.
I mean, I was very high on Edelman going into this game. A lot of people were high on Amendola. What happened to Danny Amendola?
Complete bagel.
Yeah, how does that happen?
I don't know. Austin Cowell,
Yeah, excuse me. That's the surprise of the day, right? That Austin Collie not only was in uniform, but he caught 4 passes.
The Patriots
Tompkins
like
hurt. But, I mean, I'm surprised that Austin Collie caught passes ahead of Danny Amendola.
Yeah.
Where was Danny Amendola? You know what? One of the best parts about the game for me was how the announcers could not pronounce Michael Humanawanui's name.
Humanana Mununu.
They kept saying
I don't know.
Humanawanui or Hamawananui.
I was hoping that one of you picked him for the before the season, so I could just try to pronounce his name. Huamananui?
Humanawanui. It's
Humanawanui?
not that tough. Read it.
Oh,
Look with your eyes.
I-
Humanawanui.
He just said, "Look with your eyes." Yeah,
That's
that's
a tongue twister.
yeah, that's fine.
Humana Wanui.
Why can't Grok be back?
Are we still
So-
talking about this?
Yeah,
I
we are.
think the Patriots have gone from trying to turn the lives of criminals around to trying to turn the careers of injured players around. I think that's what they're transitioning to.
What you mean, Danny Glass?
That's a terrible.
And Austin Collie.
That's true. Oh yeah, Austin Collie had a
Austin
horrific
Collie
injury,
was
didn't he?
dropped and re-signed by the Patriots like 3 or 4 times during the season, and he was only there because Kenbro Tompkins got hurt. That's it. I mean, they had no depth. You see, they had Matthew Mulligan catch a ball.
Yeah, that's sad.
When you have a guy named Matthew Mulligan, who's there, I think they're not even on the roster.
Okay,
when the season started.
Speaking of depth, 3 receivers on Denver had more productivity than almost the entire core of New England.
Well, it's not hard when you have Peyton Manning throwing to you. I mean, Demarius Thomas had a great game. Eric Decker had a decent game.
So is that a hate on Tom Brady
Oh
right there?
man, I hope it is.
Tom Brady, no, it's not a hate on Tom Brady. Tom Brady can do no wrong, but he did miss a couple
Those
of wide
were
open
some
passes.
of the worst overthrows I have ever seen in the playoffs.
Okay, no,
And they
hold on.
all were going to go for points.
If we're going to talk about the worst overthrows, let's also talk about the worst underthrown passes.
Remember that when he had Edelman in the end zone
Yeah, he was
and he
wide
threw
open.
it like into
20
the
feet over his
stands?
head, yeah.
It was unbelievable.
All right, this is a good point to move on to San Francisco, Seattle, because Colin Kaepernick had a couple chances to end this game with passes that were to wide open receivers. He underthrew for the interception, and then he overthrew on like the same drive in the same play.
I don't know why. We can talk about Richard Sherman quite a bit.
No,
But I don't know
we are
why
not
you
going to be
would
the talking heads. We're not talking about Richard Sherman. I'm
listen
sorry.
to me.
It's
I mean,
over.
I don't know why you would throw towards Richard Sherman on the most important play of the game.
Well, he
is one of the best cornerbacks in football.
He was open. If that was at least a foot higher, that's a touchdown.
He clearly wasn't open. It got intercepted.
No.
He was in the back. He was in the back corner of the end zone. Had to be a perfect ball.
But it,
in
okay.
the last 30 seconds of the game,
He threw it short. That's all
in
he
a
did.
pressure situation, I think it's, call me crazy. I think it's tough to be perfect. But maybe that's what separates somebody like Peyton Manning from Colin Kaepernick.
Or Ben Roethlisberger, he would have made that pass because in big situations, Big Ben is quite big.
I think that was very telling for Colin Kaepernick. I mean, he's going to have to improve next year. He can't make those kind of
Okay,
mistakes.
let's talk about his running, though. He absolutely outran everybody in this. He looked like, again, I keep making this comment, he looks like he's playing against children when he runs the ball. It's just not fair.
He looked better than Frank Gore, that's for sure.
Yeah, honestly, I think Colin Kaepernick was running so well that it screwed up Frank Gore's running game. He kept running straight. That's all he did.
You know what happened with Frank Gore is, as I heard through the grapevine, he was talking to Trent Richardson before the game started.
And
Trent Richardson.
That might be the worst.
Wait, hold on.
I've ever
No.
heard.
I'll save it. Did it drop the call?
What?
Did the call get dropped? It was with Trent Richardson, wasn't it?
I don't understand the joke.
It was a fumbling joke.
Oh, that's funny, actually.
I was just saying, Zach's just shaking his head at you, Seth, because you have no idea what's going on.
You didn't have a punchline for Joe.
I made a punchline.
And then John made the punchline and you didn't understand it.
Well, the best jokes are the ones that have to be explained. Everybody knows that.
That's Seth's life in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I do have to explain a lot of things to you.
This
so.
is true. Let's talk about the positives in this game, though, please, because there were a lot of them. This was an entertaining.
This was a very exciting game, right from the get-go. It's a huge matchup. Obviously, these are division teams. I think this is going to go on for several years now. You got two young quarterbacks on both teams, young defenses, great players. This is a big rivalry.
Can I make a plea to the commissioner to just have this game penciled in as the NFC Championship game for the next 3 years? Just have it happen.
I don't think there's anybody else who can make the NFC Championship besides these two teams.
I mean,
maybe Green Bay.
No, yeah, the Packers are really good. The New Orleans Saints
by 3.
The Saints at full strength are really good. I mean, there's 4 teams at least. Arizona looked great this year at the end of the season.
End of the year.
They were one of the best teams at the end of the year. They played 6 games that were just amazing.
Any given Sunday. Anything can happen in the playoffs.
Fried green tomatoes.
Did anybody think?
Are we just saying?
Did anybody think that the Steelers were going to beat the Colts all those years back when they were like 13-point dogs? No. Anything can happen in one game. It's not 7 games. It's not saying that.
So then why haven't the Bills won a Super Bowl?
Oh wow!
What does that have to do with anything?
Zach's going to leave.
It's just irrelevant comment and unnecessary, may I say? And I'm hurt.
Zach, do you need a hug?
I'm hurt. It was a tough year. I had season tickets to the Bills games. I went to almost every game. I missed one because I was out of town.
Oh.
It was, and that was the game where they dominated the Jets.
That
of course,
true.
Of course, that was that.
You
game.
weren't there for that. They're one win at home.
Well, there's stuff to look forward to, and I'm proud to be a Bills fan. I always will be.
Speaking of looking forward, we got a couple minutes here. Let's just talk about looking forward to next week. Oh, excuse me, 2 weeks. We're not looking forward to the Pro Bowl. I'm very sorry. That's going to happen, but we're not looking forward to it. What are you guys looking forward to from the Super Bowl?
Well, I feel like Pete Carroll is still the coach of the Seahawks, so I'm definitely going to be rooting for Peyton Manning.
Especially, Seth's obviously rooting against Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll drives me crazy.
He killed the Patriots.
They always got the camera on him. He drives me nuts, chewing his gum and being all annoying and walking back and forth and jumping up and down.
And I think I'm probably not alone here that he really left USC in shambles. He got out before.
And the worst part is that
that had to be some of his fault.
Nobody even talks about that. So whenever anybody brings up Pete Carroll, I make mention of that situation that he literally just left them. And he said he wasn't going to go back to the NFL. And he did just because
he was going
to get in huge trouble.
I know you don't want to be a talking head, but I really like what Richard Sherman did at the end of the game. I love how he came in and he called out everybody, basically. He just came in.
You like that?
I love it. And that's
we're going to get a week of this leading up to the Super Bowl.
I cannot wait.
This is what it's going to be. The Super Bowl is going to turn into people that are rooting for Richard Sherman because of what happened and people that are rooting against the Seahawks just because of
He became a heel. It's fantastic.
It is true. Oh, you said a wrestling term. Oh, my. We're going to set off the alarms. Did you guys hear that? Are you listening? He made a wrestling comment. A man who does not like the sport. What a surprise. When we're going to come back and close it out. You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on the Sports Byline USA Network.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on the Nick Monsanto Show here on the Sports Byline USA Network. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
That's a wrap on yet another amazing Star Fantasy League show. I say amazing because, come on, guys, that was a lot of fun, right?
It's always a lot of fun when I'm in a room with you.
Wow, that was the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Seth. Can we get that on tape? Oh, wait, it's on the radio. Everyone heard that.
Do you want a hug?
I feel like there's a lot of cables in between us right now, and I feel like that might take us off the air. That's a problem. I don't want to.
I spend all day with him, and then I have to hang out with him at night.
Love me.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about him.
Next week on the show, Seth is replaced.
Oh, come on.
No, that's not going to happen. But Seth, give us a little look into what's going on this week on StarFantasyLeagues.com.
We have quite a bit going on at StarFantasyLeagues.com. We're guaranteeing quite a bit of money in NBA contests. I think on Fridays we're guaranteeing $2,000 in contests, and Wednesdays is $1,500. The rest of the week we've got a good slate up as well. And if you're looking to get started on StarFantasyLeagues.com, I'd invite you to tweet at SFL Show or at SF Leagues on Twitter, and we'll start you out with a $5 credit. No deposit required. You can get started playing in our real money games, or you can come sign up at StarFantasyLeagues.com and play for free in our daily free tournaments where you can win your share of real money.
Actually, speaking of that, we have two very special free rolls that go on for NBA now that the season's kicked off. We have a Tuesday and a Thursday $50 free roll. So if you don't want to just play for our normal $10 free rolls, you want to get some real cash, all you got to do is play Tuesday and Thursday. You have a chance to beat the experts, and you get some real dough.
Right now, those tournaments are hosted by two of the most well-known roto experts in our industry, and that's Michael Leone and Drew Dinkmeyer.
Yeah, we might try to get them on here and talk some of their secrets in fantasy basketball. Because Seth, we know that you don't like to talk fantasy basketball. Zach and I are kind of hoarding the market when it comes to fantasy basketball.
I'd love to go back and forth with those guys. Those guys know their stuff.
Did you know that Vitor Favorani came in third in his local hot dog eating competition in Brazil?
That, honestly, if you guys didn't know that Vitor Favorani came in second, then guess what? We're going to help you make a better lineup next time. Man, Seth, you really got me going. That's bad. And you guys, we will talk to you next time.